All right, Adam. I do appreciate you jumping on for this,
For sure, man.
but I want to continue this conversation about being dangerous in any room we walk in, being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were literally just talking about this, and the energy that we have, our sons are going to have, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how many men have we met through sports? Insecure son, insecure dad, right?
Fact.
I mean, it happens a lot. And so, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about literally being dangerous from a spiritually, mentally, physically, for any situation. And I want to get your thoughts on this because you texted me something once that really resonated with me. And I'm paraphrasing, so correct me if I state this inaccurately. Any room you walk in, you know how you're going to kill every man in that room, and you're comfortable in any situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And I want to be clear. I didn't create that quote. I live by that quote. There was another operator. I can't remember. He might have even been a Navy SEAL. And I hate giving Navy SEALs credit for anything. They're the movie star guys, but they're switched on. And this guy said that, and I live by that because, we're to a point now where my wife knows she is already looking for where I'm going to sit because she knows that my back will never be to where people can enter and exit. And that's such a granular detail that most men I know for a fact, because I can just scan a room and see they're not thinking about that. That is like one small granular detail. That's the minutia of manhood. That if you have a wife and children and you enter a building and you're going to sit down somewhere and your back is where anybody and everybody can walk in, you are not physically, spiritually, or mentally prepared to protect your family. You're dropping the ball. So yeah, whenever I go into a room, and listen, let's really be serious about this, right? Men only have so much bandwidth. And if I just run an open server at all times of like, how am I going to kill everybody in every room to protect my family? Well, then I'm going to have no bandwidth for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily mean that like you have to constantly be like thinking about your pace plan. And if for anybody who's listening that doesn't know what a pace plan is, that's your primary, your alternate, your contingency, and an emergency. You should have a pace plan for everything you do. If you guys are going to go on a road trip for vacation, you should have a pace plan. Hey, if the car breaks down, this is what I'm going to do. I've got the tire. I've got everything I need to change it. I've got something to pump the tire up. I have a cell phone fully charged and I have a SATCOM. So I have like a little walkie-talkie. So if I had to, you know what I mean? So backing up, if you walk into a room, I'm not necessarily saying at all times you have to be evaluating like who you're going to kill or how you're going to do that. But you should know who your threats are. You should be able to look at the room and go, if that dude over there in the corner turned out to be a bad guy, like how am I going to neutralize that guy? That's a quick 5-second recognition that there could be danger close. That's the kind of stuff that guys in general, I don't think there's enough awareness about that. Most men don't carry weapons. Most men aren't proficient in using weapons or weapon systems. Most men don't know how to fight. They don't know what to do if they did get into a fight. And all those things could seem like overwhelming things to get yourself into. What you at least at minimum should know is who your threats are. Even if you don't know how to neutralize them, even if you don't know what to do, you should start practicing walking into a room and going, that guy would give me trouble if he wanted everything I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's so important. There was something you said of the bandwidth. So I tell men all the time, we're not here to wallow in fear of the worst case scenarios. We make a touch point on the worst case scenario, and then that's it.
That's it.
And that's it. And we never, we never conversate worst case scenarios with our wives. I bet you my wife subconsciously probably knows that I carry everywhere we go. But on the surface, she has no idea that I carry everywhere that we go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There'll be times where maybe I'll take her in the bedroom and I have to put my pistol on the thing, and she's like, oh wow, like I didn't realize you had that on it, even though it's like an everywhere we go thing, everywhere we go. And I don't talk to her about the dangers because that's not my job, is to fill her in. It's not her role. Like, hey, honey, like we have to sit over here because of this. It's just something we do. I put my hand on her lower back when we go to church, when we go to this building, and I guide her to the position where we're going to be in. Exit over here, exit over there, can see entrance, can see the stage. Bam, I'm not in a way that we could get trampled. We're not caught in the middle of a 20-row seat. We never sit in the middle over there. Like, you're not doing yourself any good. And the touch points, I call them like touch points. Here's what we're going to do. Cool. Now I get to relax, focus with the family.
That's it.
And that is it. It's just like a little touch point that we should be doing everywhere we go.
It takes 10 seconds, and you should be mentally aware. We call it being switched on, head on a swivel. Make sure that, and this is like one aspect of it, man. I mean, when I'm walking in a parking lot, my head is observing sometimes early on too, in my transformation. And guys, like, if you want to know my transformation, that's a story for another day. But the way I walk and talk and carry myself now is completely different. 4 years ago, when I started this, Jade, my wife, would get very frustrated at me when we'd be in a restaurant or out somewhere, and she would want to like chit chat with me, and my eyes were never focused on her because my eyes were going where the perceived threat could be. If we were in a really busy place and I saw people that could be a threat coming in and out, then my focus was there, because that's my responsibility. I don't really give a fuck about like what Shelly said to you on the cell phone in this moment, because there could be danger close. My job is to provide space for my wife to feel comfortable about telling me anything and everything. But at this point, she knows if she starts talking to me and my eyes are not on her, she knows what I'm doing. So she stops talking. She'll go back to working on her phone or doing whatever she needs to do, because she knows that I'm doing my greater job. I'm protecting her. Same with my kids, right? And laziness is something that men are just stricken with right now. We're just lazy about everything. We'd rather just sit our asses down in a booth and whip out our phone and start scrolling on the internet, instead of looking like, well, hey, that guy's 6'4", probably 250, not very athletic. However, if he's carrying, it's going to make this way more difficult. If he becomes a problem, how am I going to take care of that problem? And that happens in my mind in like 5 seconds. And like, then it's over with. And then I can like you said, enjoy. And guys, I don't want you to like listen to this call and think that we're just psychotic, that we're just constantly thinking about this. But it's almost like antivirus software on your phone or your computer. It runs in the background. Once it gets proficient enough, it just runs in the background, so that you're not having to stop what you're doing and like look around. You're just always looking around. It's just constantly running in the background of like scanning and assessing. All right, not a threat. I can get back to what it is that I want to be doing. Okay, not a threat. Okay, wait, that could be a threat. Let's give that 1-2 extra seconds. Let's look at that 1 to 2 extra seconds. Okay, not a threat, right? And you don't want to start doing that when the shit hits the fan. Your first time thinking about where the threat might be shouldn't be when there's a threat in your face, because what will happen is you will freak the fuck out. Your emotions will totally consume you. You will have no idea how to do anything, and you'll get paralyzed. And that paralyzation could cost you your life, your children's life, your wife's life, or your dignity. If your wife sees you freak out and stop or dive under a table, and then like God, thankfully nothing happens, trust me, she'll never forget that.
Yeah, you're going to be one of those episodes where she calls into that John Delaney guy and was like, hey, my husband didn't protect us, and now I don't feel attracted to him.
And whose fault would that be?
Oh my gosh. Yep, it is 100%. And when you said, it's just 1 to 2 seconds extra, I call it a flicking of the eyes. Like, I'll just flick my eyes over to see someone walk in. I'll flick
That's
my
it.
eyes open because I see a guy get up. Like, it's just a flicking over really quick. Again, it's 1-2 seconds like max, and then I'm back to just talking to my wife. But I'm
Because
always touching on those guys.
yeah, in my periphery, I'm not like, my periphery doesn't tell me the exact makeup of this guy. I just know that there's a guy there. Well, if he moves and I flick, I can really dress that situation down really quickly. And look, 99 times out of 100, it's nothing. The guy was scratching his ass. Like, no big deal. But there might be one time when that guy grabs the butter knife and he comes attacking a server in my vicinity. You know, here am I, send me mentality. I guarantee you there's not going to be enough dudes in a regular restaurant that know exactly what to do if somebody just lost their shit. I do. I'm fully prepared for that. I pray every day that nothing like that ever happens. I never want to exercise my capability in that arena. If I go the rest of my life and I never have to exercise that, thank you, Jesus. But if I have to, I can promise you that my children and my wife are going to go, holy fuck. Like, thank God. Thank God that's the guy that drives the car around for us and not some wimpy, whiny pussy that doesn't have any idea what to do when the shit hits the fan. They think that everybody else is going to just take care of them. And that is like the weakest mindset ever. And to go all the way back to the very beginning, if you're not willing to like dedicate time in your life to working out and sharpening a skill, like I know plenty of dudes that are very proficient in jujitsu that don't lift weights every day. No big deal. You do not have to lift weights. But in jujitsu, you're practicing fighting, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. If you're a guy and you have no experience physically getting another man out of your personal space, you are going to struggle. And it will show in every room you walk into because you're not that way. I'm not that way. I have a lot of practice with that. So when you walk into a room, they know that. Men can smell it on you. You can see it. You can see a guy who has no experience physically removing another man off of his body or his personal space. And we are not the same.
Mm-hmm. Dozens of men have said this, but I love the fact of like a man should be capable of violence to instill peace. And if you are not capable, then you're just subjected to another man's authority, both physically, mentally, all of the above.
Of course.
And I want to ask you a question because I get asked this a lot. I get guys going, hey, even our mutual buddy Adam A was like one day was like, hey dude, should I get into jujitsu or like what combat sport, if I were to pick one, should I get into? Now I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this who want to disagree with me. I tell them the one thing I don't like about jujitsu is in a real life situation is everyone's situation is going to start standing, and if there's two guys, you're not going to do any good trying to take this guy down and choke him out because there's another guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of if you can have efficient hands or even like a Muay Thai, bap, and get away. And like that's because you don't want to be like, how long I got 3 minutes to get this guy to the ground and choke him out. It's like that's a long time to do something. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't hold its place, right? I mean, I was a blue belt back in 2005. And now, granted, blue belts are way fucking different today than 2005, but I'm a big fan of jiu-jitsu. Huge fan. But if a guy had to pick one, what advice would you give a guy who it's like he just has time for one and it's just for situational awareness?
That's a great
guy
question.
At the gas station type deal who comes up and is, has no good intentions in mind.
So I think the best thing that you can do is be proficient at drawing a pistol. I think that if you're going to get into a situation where there is one or more you should have a weapon system. You should have a knife and or a pistol. And if you draw a pistol, that'll de-escalate a situation more often than not. If you don't have either of those, you need to find a way to get proficient at striking. There are ways that you can strike and then evade. I'm not saying striking like a professional boxer, like moving and closing distance and like working the body. I'm talking about being able to like blow someone's knee out and then beat feet, get in your car, get out of there.
Get out. Yeah. So it sounds like we're on the same page of how can you, because my striking was pop up, whatever that is, and then you can leave that situation. Like, it sounds like we're on the exact same page.
The best way that you're going to serve your family is by living.
Yeah.
You're not going to serve your family by like proving what a prized boxer you were and then getting stabbed in the chest. You know what I mean? So for me, I carry all the time. I have pistols in my truck, my desk, on my person, in bags. I have holsters. I have every single which way you can carry a pistol. I have that. So if I were at the gas station and somebody came up and wanted my wallet, well, they're going to find out real quickly that if they want my wallet, they're going to get smoked trying to get it. They can just walk away and I can keep pumping my gas and carry on with my business. And you can go move to a target that isn't soft and try and steal their wallet. I'm going to pump my gas and get back in my car. Now, if there's a situation where, for whatever reason, my pistol's in my truck and I'm confronted, man, like the hardest guys the most war-tested, battle-tested dudes will say to you, if I can get away from that situation, I'm getting away from the situation. Only guys that have never been in any kind of confrontation whatsoever and had their face cracked or been in a situation where it's life or death, those are the guys that you're going to hear like, well, I'm going to fuck this dude up. Well, no, you're not. You're not. Truthfully, you're going to put yourself in a position where, like, if you have wife and kids and you have to physically strike somebody, now you have to more than likely show up in court. You're going to have to figure that stuff out legally. You could kill somebody. Okay.
On accident too.
On accident. You kill somebody in the wrong state or the wrong jurisdiction and you're fucked. So you got to be really prepared. So to answer your question, you got to be able to strike. If you can't strike, if you don't know how to effectively strike or where to strike, and you're not going to carry a weapon system, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, you should figure out, you should know how to strike and then evade. Strike with the intent of getting away, not strike with the intent of closing distance and then eliminating a threat. Like that, leave that for people that leave that for the law. Leave that for that situation. There's nothing that is worth it to hit somebody and kill them. Now, if you're threatening my children, if you have your hands on my wife or my son or my daughter, I mean, at that point, you've become the victim, in my opinion. There's nothing that I can do. I can't evade. I can't run away if you have your hands on my wife or my children. Now we've entered a different scenario whereby you should be proficient at a weapon system. That would be my primary, would be a weapon system. My alternate would be striking. My contingency would be evading, and my emergency would be, I don't know. I'd have to think about that, honestly. It depends on the situation.
Well, yeah, when a wife and children are involved, it flips the script.
For sure.
Completely. It changes the entire scenario. But if it's just you, gas station, post gym, it's like, one of the things I tell men is like, there is a line that I call treason. If you get yourself killed, you are essentially allowing your wife to be widowed. You're allowing eventually probably another man to raise your children. There's just, and it's treason, right? And that treason falls into like, well, did your ego come into play? Or did you give him the 1-2 and you're gone? Are you going back for more for ego? Are you even just like approaching the guy, getting into his bubble. I'm like, why would you ever get into? I never let anyone into my bubble. Why would you try and go up and have an ego into your bubble? And all he does is stick a little 3-inch knife right under your right rib into your liver, and you're fucking done.
And you're gonna bleed out. You'll bleed out, and you're gonna want your life is gonna get really foggy, and you'll probably think about all the things that you could have, would have, and should have done. And again, Jesse, we like to go back to one of the original thoughts is that men who want to do that have no experience doing that, right? If you've ever killed somebody, then you know how the emotional toll that plays on you. So the last thing you want to be like scheming in your mind is how you're going to like just kill somebody if they offend you or they get in your space. That's a very immature, weak-minded mindset. That's a very weak man that has that ideology. You should be in the business of like, hey man, whatever it is that I did to offend you, I apologize. I don't want this. Like, let's cooler heads need to prevail. If you can't talk yourself out of a situation, honestly, Jesse, that's another thing that you should be really proficient at. You should be able to convince somebody that wants to do something negative to you otherwise. Convince them that that's not a good idea. Hey man, listen, that's not a good idea, okay? Show them your weapon if you have one. Hey, I'm not the guy. Like, not the hey, let's calm this down. There's really no reason. Hey, if you need money, can I help you? Try and turn the situation around. That is somebody that is a smart individual. Saying that you're just going to fuck somebody up on sight tells me that you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea how scary those moments actually are. Because if you, in any one of those situations, any kind of situation like that, where somebody's going to confront you, you have to be understanding that you could die. So you better be really right you better have all of your ducks in a row. You better have insurance. You better have your will in place. You better know who Christ is. You know what I'm saying? Like, most men don't have that stuff buttoned up. So why are you going to tell me that you're just going to like get violent the second that something like that comes around? That's immature. That is not masculinity. I was trying to figure out how to word that. That's like immature masculinity, but that's not even it. You can't, those two are incongruent. You can't be masculine and immature. So it's just immaturity.
Yeah. And I think anybody who I've ever come across who's like, dude, you want to fuck that guy up if they did this or said this, those are guys who in me personally experienced, they're insecure. Right? There's something that they're making up for, some sort of inadequacy and insecurity, versus I'm like, it ain't worth that. Like what? Because it goes back to the treason thing. And like the example I'm thinking of, it's like, so you want to possibly get killed because you're escalating this situation, right? It reminds me of, so we've all heard Jordan Peterson say like, you have to be dangerous but under control. The thing that men do not understand about that is he's also referring to intellectual danger.
Oh my, even more so, Jesse. Yeah. I think more so because guys,
than the physical.
We instinctively think physically, and that's what I alluded to before. Like, you need to be able to talk your way out of it. You've got to intellectually help that man understand without getting violent in any way that like, I'm not the fucking guy. I promise you.
Like, without getting your ego involved.
Yeah. Without swearing, without getting aggressive. And if you can practice, the more you practice not getting emotional when your wife confronts you with something or your children do something out of character that maybe ping your own insecurity, and you stay really controlled in your home, the more likely when these situations that we're talking about happen, the more likely you're going to also be able to control your emotions. And a controlled aggression is far more lethal than misguided energy, just punching air. You know what I'm saying? Like, being able to like almost be like an FBI hostage negotiator, flip it on a dime. Like, that is emotionally securing as well. If your wife and you are out and you de-escalate a situation by falling on the sword, and your wife knows that, hey, like if it comes down to it, like my man's winning that, I have no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But you show her that, like, hey, I don't have to exercise that all the time. I remember when I was dating not my wife, and I had just gotten out of the Q course, and she knew that I was a Green Beret. We would be out and she would instigate things on my behalf. Obviously a very immature, insecure girl in her own right. Like that's not the fruit that you want to produce as a man. Like my wife now would probably not say anything. If anything like that stirred up, where there was like a confrontation needed to happen, where I physically needed to like stand up or get involved, where I got to shut something down, I know my wife would shut up. She would say, this is an area where my husband's the expert and I don't have to say anything. I don't have to say or do anything. And the emergency would be if I got involved in something that I couldn't protect myself, she would just call the police. Otherwise, she's not saying anything. My wife's not going to chime in and be like, my husband will fuck your husband up. You know what I mean? Like that's an emotionally unstable couple that comes from the man's insecurities. We are quiet. We'll move tables. Hey man, you can have this table. Hey man, you can check out first. Hey man, pump your gas first. I'm not in any big hurry, dude. Like whatever the case, it's not that big of a deal. It's not important enough for me to put myself in a position where I commit treason, like you said, against my wife and children. I'm going to raise my kids. I'm married to my wife, and that's going to be the case until God says, I need you home.
Yeah. Right. Anybody who gets like the road rage or like you said, the pump to gas, like I was here first, those men feel that the little teeny tiny power that they have is getting stripped from them by a total stranger, and they want that power back. And it's like, think of just how small, simple, giant fucking pussy minded you are, that you're allowing this total stranger to offend you and ruffle your feathers, when it really, all they were thinking probably is like they just got to the pump a little bit before you, didn't notice you, and then you got to get pissed and they get pissed because they have their little insecurities and their power struggle. And it's like, on one hand, it's laughable. Man, there's so many directions I want to go with this.
That's the yeah, and we can go into a direction of that is the big problem that we face now. It's what you and I are coaching men out of. It's the mentality that you have to prove yourself. Like if your marriage is a fucking mess, it's because you're incapable of leading anybody. And so you feel like you have to prove yourself everywhere else because you can't prove yourself at home. You're not emotionally equipped enough. So you're going to prove how big and bad of a boss you are and how much you will have everything in control at the gas pump. But yet you won't humble yourself enough to like work on who you are so that you can be that guy at home and walk righteously with your chest up, right? That takes a tremendous amount of work. And I want to touch on something, man. Like we were in church yesterday and there's a guy who, over the last 8 to 10 months got separated from his wife, then divorced his wife and is with somebody else now. And he's a really big narcissist. And he brought this new girl to church yesterday. And it was really weird to see them as like touchy-feely as they were. And my buddy said to me, I said, I think he's really struggling with something. He said, yeah, man, he's somewhere along the line, I think he just started hating his wife and they just grew apart. And I said, you know what that's called when you start hating your wife? It's because the woman you married is pointing out where you're deficient. And instead of confronting that and dealing with it, you fucking run away from that problem and you make it her. It's, oh, well, I hate her. She fucking annoys the shit out of me all the time. And I felt that with my wife, Jesse, for a long time. I was really pissed at Jade. I hated her fucking guts, bro, because she never let off the gas pedal. She never once relented She saw what God created and was like, you're fucking throwing that away, bro. Like, I didn't marry this. And that frustrated me until I fell on my knees and I found out who God was for me. And it changed my life forever. Now I'm like, do you understand? There was a day, Jesse, and I know we're kind of diverting here, but I think this is important. There was a day when I was like really trying to figure it out. And there was still a lot of friction in our house. Jade was getting ready to like go take pictures with our kids. And we were at it. And I was just like really pissed because I felt like she still wasn't respecting me. And she was curling her hair, didn't even make eye contact with me, was looking at herself in the mirror, curling her hair. And she was like, Adam, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you want or like what your feelings are right now. I don't give a fuck. And like kept curling her hair. And I was like, holy shit. And I tell her this all the time. I say, do you remember when? And she goes, yes, I know. I remember. That was like a flip of a switch for me. It was like, get it together, bro. Get it fucking together. She doesn't need, I don't need to be a baby anymore. Be an adult and figure it out. And like from that moment on, it was like, I fucking figured this out. I'm never going to have my wife not even have the guts or not even have the respect for me enough to look at me and tell me to fuck off. She was looking at herself in a mirror, getting ready and saying, fuck you. You can either look at that as your wife being mean to you, or if you married the right woman, you can look at that as God speaking through your wife as real as he can possibly get with you, saying, figure it out, dude. I didn't mess up. You did. You're the problem. Morgan Wallen says it best. I'm the problem. Yeah, you're the fucking problem, bro. Figure it out. And that mentality is why we're in the situation where you and I have to coach men daily. I have to look at men, look at me and go, yeah, but she said. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, that's why when you get confronted with like a man that's willing to be violent to you, you lose control. You don't have control over yourself. That's why you have no control over situations. If you can control yourself, you can be in control of almost any situation, because the fact of the matter is that most men are not in control of themselves. So if you are, guess what? You're the problem now. You're the good problem. You're the one that nobody wants to fuck with, and you don't have to say it. You don't have to say that to anybody. You just live it. And that's where we're trying to get guys to the point where like, hey, the more you say you're going to do something, the less likely you're capable of doing any of that. The less likely so listen, every time you open your mouth and you flap your gums and you start telling me how you're going to fuck me up, the more likelihood I understand the situation. I know the assignment. You're not going to do anything. And I'll just talk my way out of it and I'll go on my way, because I know that I don't have to physically get involved with you. Now, here's the problem. You're out and there's another guy who's completely switched on and you piss him off. And he's not saying much. And you're not saying much. And now there's a stare down. That's when violence is about to erupt. And the quicker you can just de-escalate that and walk away, the better. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I think that's important in terms of the mentality.
It's a good one. I mean, I was in the same place with my wife, dude. God gives us a wife, both of us, to reflect our inadequacies and where we really need to step up. And she's just there to point it out for the benefit of the household. It's that simple. For the benefit of the household.
She's not being mean because she's just being mean. She's tired of your nonsense.
Yeah, and I've told men, there's not a man on this planet who was like, I want to marry the grumpiest, nagging woman that there is. That's the one I want to wife up. No, eventually we just drop the ball. And then she's like, I'm tired of carrying the weight, bud. You need to get your shit together.
It's no different, Jesse, than if you married your wife and she's smoking hot, and then you have 2 kids, and then she just gets fat. Would you say anything? Would you like find ways to be like, honey, listen, like I think we need to, or would you just, whatever? What she's doing to you is she's saying to you, you got really fat. And I don't like that. I'm not attracted to you when you're 400 fucking pounds overweight. I'm not attracted to you when you can't make a decision. I'm not attracted to you when you cry to me over everything. I'm not attracted to that. Like that's not her being mean to you. That's her being really truthful and honest with you. And most men say they want the truth. Most dudes go, yeah, Nick Saban's the greatest coach ever because he coaches hard, until you get coached hard. And then you clam up because your ego, and you've never had anybody speak like that to you before. You've never had anybody tell you, hey, you're fucking wrong. Like, you surround yourself with yes dudes. All your buddies say that she's the problem. She's mean, dude. She doesn't fucking respect you. You know, you make the money and you do. Like, dude, you and I don't have any time for that anymore. We have no tolerance. I have zero tolerance for that. If I coach a guy that flaps his mouth like that, it's like, bro, you already paid me. I'll cancel this today. Like I cannot help you if you're going to be like that. So it's crazy, man.
A handful of years ago, my wife, she used to think I was just mean to guys in my Bible study because I would tell them, like, you sound like a girl. Like, no, stop, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, why are you just so mean? I'm like, do you realize, like, I'm just helping them and being honest, no different than what you did when I was acting that same way. And when I put it in that perspective for her, she was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, nobody was telling me that I wasn't stepping up except you. No, I didn't have a brother or a buddy to tell me that I needed to sack up and actually do my job. And that the problem was me. And I had to look in the mirror. Nobody. So why would I hold back and give these guys a free pass? And she never since then was like, she never is on me about giving any of the guys in my community, any of the guys in my tiny ass circle a hard time. Like, not once. She's like,
that is you being nice, by the way.
Yeah, that is me showing love.
That's how, look, man, Jesus spoke the truth in love. And when you love somebody, you are willing to tell them things that could cost you something. Right? Listen, man, if you're friends with everybody, if everybody you ever encounter likes you, you're fucking wrong. You're wrong. That means you've never looked at anybody and been like, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, somebody says something wazoo, like, man, she's such a bitch. Like, I swear, we're going to Biloxi this weekend, and I don't really. I'm gonna find some bitch. I'm gonna hook up with somebody, and you don't go, what? No, you're not. That's not being mean. Or just, that's a bigger example. But even if you're in a Bible study with somebody and they're just like, my wife's just a nagger. It's like, I don't know, dude. I bet you she's not. I bet you you're kind of a problem. I bet you don't even put the alarm on when you go to bed. You force your wife to do it. And then you think she's nagging you because she asks you to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if your wife has to ask you to take the trash out and you have a son, you're double fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's a really simple thing where I hear guys tell me, like, she's just constantly telling me to do shit. I'm like, you're constantly not doing shit.
Yeah. She feels like your mom. And guess what? No mom wants to fuck their kid.
No. Never. Jesse, have you ever coached a guy that said he's not having sex with his wife and it been the wife's problem?
Not one time. And
Never.
I get guys who are like, man, we haven't had sex in 2 years almost. It's been 6 months. It's been this. And it was one time over that 6 months. And it was like, well, what do you think you're not doing? And it's like, it's not her, bud. I promise you it's not her. I don't care if you think she's perimenopausal. You know why she's probably perimenopausal? Is because of the amount of cortisol that you're inflicting on her that fucks up her hormones because she's carrying the weight.
And if she's told you that, she's lying. That's an escape mechanism because you're so pathetic. And I don't really care if that hurts anybody's feelings watching this. If anything, by the way, if you watch this and it hurts any part of your feelings, that is a red flag. The alarm bells should be going off. You should be scraping and clawing to get a hold of Jesse or I individually, or somebody. If you don't like my flavor, if you don't like the fact that I say fuck, then like fine, find somebody else. That should send the alarm off in your mind going, I need help with unpackaging my own bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a spidey sense, that's the thing that God created in you that tells you that you're a man. That's like your ball sack dropping. If I said something to you so far on this call that offended you, your nuts dropped, maybe for the first time ever. And you realize, oh, that's what a man sounds like. A man doesn't sound like, hey, motherfucker, I'm going to fuck you. A man sounds like, hey, man, I recognize that I've got some issues that I think that I need to clear up. And a real man would go, and I think the first place I want to look is in one of these. Maybe I should pick this thing up. In the Army, they give you AR 670-1. It's a field manual that tells you how to do everything. This is your field manual for life. This is the best book on being a man, being a parent, being a husband, being a dad, being a coach, being a leader, being a disciple, being a missionary, being an auto mechanic. Anything you're going to do, if you study the hell out of this thing, man, you'll solve 100% of your problem.
For those of you listening, he's talking about the Bible.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't make that clear. Yeah, the Bible.
That is the cheat code to life, through and through. I'll watch these videos of like, what's the best personal relationship or finance book or blah blah blah, and it's like the Bible, bro, the Bible. And I guarantee you, anyone listening to this, and Adam's going to be on the same page as me, you read this every day, your life will change for sure. We are called to meditate on the word. You meditate on this, man, it is going to change your life entirely. The way you carry yourself for your wife, even going to the beginning of the call, being able to be dangerous and under control. Every aspect that you want to be as a man, that you see the men of men being, you're gonna be able to accomplish that through the Bible.
Fact.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
And Jesse, to also like bring it back to the beginning, right? One of the most practical things I want men to understand is you don't have to be capable of the violence yet. I encourage you to work your way into that. What I want you to start doing, though, is I want you to start being aware of your surroundings. I want you to just start with this. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, ever sit with your back towards the door. Start with that. Let your wife see that you recognize that one thing. That might give you a tick in the respect column in the direction that you really want to move. So that's like one. You don't have to know. You don't have to be a brown belt or a black belt in jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. You don't have to be a professional striker right now. You don't have to be great to get started, but you got to get started to be great. So today, after you watch this call and you go to dinner with your wife and kids, put your fucking back to a solid surface so that you can observe where people are coming and going. Start with that. Okay. If you can perfect that, then you start moving into other aspects of your life, and your mind is really, really powerful. If you start telling yourself, even if you're a weak man, even if you don't train, you're overweight, but if you start telling yourself, I'm going to put my back to the wall and I'm going to look at where the entry points and exit points are, your brain is going to start working differently. And then the next time you say, I don't want to work out, you maybe might, because you thought, wait a second. That's right. If I have my back to the wall and somebody enters the room that could cause me harm, I now have to be capable of doing something about it. Now your mind is starting to connect the dots on why it's important to be physically fit, why it's important to know how to de-escalate a situation with my words. Why are those important? Well, if you're not even thinking about looking at the entry and exit while your wife and kids are eating their food, you're not going to be one that says, yeah, I should work out today. But if you start the habit of doing that, then your brain will start going, well, I do that already. And why do I do that? Well, because this could happen. If this happens, am I ready for that? Right? You and I have talked, Jesse, about, like, I've taken my family to Disney World, and the amount of people there that have no recourse if I decide I want all of the shit they have at any given point. If I decide I want all of your shit, and you're attached to one of those motorized carts, like I'm getting whatever I want and you're losing whatever you don't want to lose. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are people on this planet that are very capable of doing that, of taking everything you have. You're either going to give it to them or you're not. Do or don't.
Yeah, one of my favorite questions for men is, are you able to thrive in any time period? 10,000 years ago, time of Jesus, the Oregon Trail, today, or zombie apocalypse tomorrow? And the amount of men who are like, I'm only built for 2026 is so sad.
Yes.
Because I ask men this in my community, in my one-on-one, and I've only actually ever had one kid. And I say kid, he's in his lower 30s. But at a time that kid was homeless, he was like robbing people for drug money. I've only had one person who's like, I would find a way to survive. And it's like, he was living on his own at like 12, right? He had a stepdad who was from whatever that fucking max security prison is in Southern California. He was there for like 15 years and then became a stepdad after he got out, and he was like fucking hated it. But the guy actually wanted to be a dad, did good, was murdered at one point. And so he had such a hard life that he's like, I think I would find a way. But my point is, the other 100 men I've talked to and asked that same question all say, put a bullet in my head, I want to survive. And I'm like, man, that fucking sucks. Like, if you think about it in a different light, you would have never left any offspring, because back in those other times, we literally had to fight to survive.
Yeah, I think when we look at this stuff and we really get hyper focused on it, it exposes a lot of like what the real problem is, right? So you ask that question, and most 99 of the 100 say, put a bullet in me, I wouldn't survive. And like just saying that alone is a metaphor for their life. The second life gets hard, they just want to punch
Throw
out.
in the towel. Yeah.
Like the second their wife asks them to like be the man that they married, they throw in the towel. The second your kids push back on you a little bit and they force you to dig deep, you quit and you scream at them, or you just ground them or throw them in their room, or you hit them. You know what I mean? Like I spanked my son once. I've never had to do that again. And I spanked my daughter once with a spoon on her butt. Once. And I've never had to do that again. Like, not because the spanking was so traumatic. It's because I decided that I was just going to go so much deeper into myself and not have to do that anymore. And I haven't had to do that anymore. I have you know what I mean? Like, I don't throw in the towel. I just don't do that.
I think you and I have touched on this, that it's not that I don't believe in spanking. I believe when you are in your true form as a man, your identity is in God, you're leading your home, you're good at being a man, you're leading your wife, there's zero need to spank. It's a reflection of your lack of leadership, that they don't respect you. They don't respect the rules enough. And then you're going to be quick to anger and be irrational and physically try and go after a little fucking kid.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you're just so frustrated with yourself.
For sure. There's so much data on that. And Bill, who is my best friend, we don't see eye to eye on this. That's fine. That's totally fine. When I read "Do not spare the rod," Jesus and I feel like when God speaks, there's never just the surface. There's what are the layers beneath that. I hear "don't spare the rod." Bill's interpretation of that could be a physical rod, and that is okay. I'm not going to tell him that that's not what you should do. When I read that, my rod is my heart, my ability to communicate, my ability to show up every day, not just when it's hectic or it's crazy and he needs discipline. It's how do I handle myself all the time? That is sparing the rod. If I'm disciplined in my everyday life and I am thoughtful in how I communicate and I am quick to ask for forgiveness and I am slow to anger and I am thorough and thoughtful with the way that I communicate, that is exactly what that means. I'm not sparing the rod by being kind and thoughtful and direct the way that I discipline my children.
Well, I like this. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the sparing the rod. And I'm going to go with the rod is physical.
Okay.
And if we look at the context, they were referring to sheep herders. Now, do you think the sheep herder used his rod to beat his sheep into submission to steer the flock? Or do you think he used that flock against the roaring lions at the gate? If we think of even David, he fought off lions and bears to protect his flock. Not to get, he didn't use his freaking rod or his slingshot to keep the sheep in line.
Never.
Not once.
It was the rod was a defense mechanism against outside threats.
Exactly.
Not a control measure for inside non-threats.
Exactly.
That's not what that's for. And when the sheep watch David thwart lions with a slingshot, they understand, wow, that motherfucker, if I get out of line, could use that on me. So it's in my best interest to just stay in line so that I'm not an enemy of his. He's protecting me with that, but I know that can go both ways. Right? So now you're using your physical might to protect, and then your children respect the fact that their dad knows how to protect them enough to go, I don't want that motherfucker going ham on me. I've seen my dad out in public have to de-escalate a situation or have to use his outside voice. I don't want that on me. So what's my best course of action? It's when he tells me to take the trash out, it's to get the fuck up and take the trash out. He's not asking me once or twice. He didn't ask the guy on the street twice. You know what I mean? I think that's the way that I'm hearing you. I think that's what you're talking about. I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah, that's more of what I'm talking about. I mean, the rod is to guide our sheep and then to actually use it against any evil forces. You know, it's like when you say, you know, the guy's seeing the guy at the gas station, dad can handle himself. Dang, I don't want him to bring that home. Like my son right here who just let one of our dogs in my office, like he's seen me spar, you know, and like he's watched that stuff and he's just like, oh, it's like, Dad, it's like, that's cool. And then it's like, do you want to do that? He goes, no.
Right. Like, it's cool until it's not.
Yeah. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, all right, well, we're going to practice that. So you're ready to do that. You don't have to do that now. It's 7, at 8, at 9. You now, granted, the kid's wrestling and he's double bracketing. So he's in a similar fight without punching. But it's I believe the rod is not for us to use it internally in our household. Like that's a tyrant. Nobody follows a tyrant. So
absolutely,
that's my thing on the rod.
Yeah, and you can't. Look, it goes back to why Jesus doesn't, or why God doesn't eliminate free will. Because if I force you to love me, then you don't love me.
It's control.
If I force you by physically assaulting you to do something, then you don't respect me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You respect me when I go, hey, bud, so you're finishing up breakfast. You know what I expect, right? You know my expectations. Now, let's go one step before. Men, if you don't control every aspect of teaching your children, then you're fucking wrong. If you haven't shown your son repeatedly, look, this is my expectation on everything. This is my expectation for where your shoes go when you get home. This is my expectation for when you get up after eating, and we're not eating as a family in this instance, that you clean up all your shit. Because if you don't clean it up, who has to? Make them answer questions. Well, you have to. Do you think that I should clean up after your breakfast? No, I do not. So then you understand it's reasonable that when you're done, you're going to get up and this is what you're going to do. And then they do that because you set the expectation. If you just expect your kids to figure shit out, like that's not going to happen. So then you can't get angry at them when they don't figure it out. Show them what you want them to do. You'll probably have to model that for a certain amount of time. An 8-year-old kid isn't going to pick it up after one time. So you model the behavior, then you set the expectation, then you set what the consequence is, and then you execute the consequence when the expectation isn't met. And it doesn't have to be violence.
Mm-hmm.
Violence begets violence. Okay.
Yeah. And I have no respect for men who offload the discipling of their children, especially sons after 6, onto their mother.
Oh,
it's like, no, like me and my sons. So I have 2 under 10. One is 9, one is almost 5. I have conversations intentionally multiple times a week, almost every day. I can't say every day right now. 5 times out of 7, 5 days out of 7. Our expectations, who we are as a family. We talk about our code, our family code of what we do, how we carry ourselves, the importance of our name and our identity in Christ, of that, like, if we only can control a number of things, and one of those things is our belief in God.
mm-hmm.
Like, we intentionally talk about these things, and it's not up to my wife to talk to my sons about this. It's not up to her to disciple them. If they're getting out of line, she just is like, guess what? You get to go tell your father about that. And they're like, shoot. All right, I'm going to make amends right now, but then I'm going to go still talk to them. And they'll let me know, like, hey, mom wanted me to come talk to you about this because I did this, but my brother did that. But I already apologized to them, and I already did what mom wanted me to ask, but I'm told to come tell you. It's like, all right, what can we do different next time?
Right.
And like my sons, I'll have them come to my office even after I hear them get in an argument. And they know that they're not necessarily in trouble because I talked to them about a lot of things. And I talked them through this. My job, for me, my main focus is to be their mindset coach, not this tyrant who just is like, well, why the fuck are you doing that? Like, you know, you're not supposed to do that. Or to do the flip side of the coin of just not caring. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, mom will tell you what to do. Mom took care of it, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, dude, get out of here. I'm raising men.
Yeah. Mom is like, if you get physically hurt, you can go tell your mom.
And she's going to love on you.
Yeah. She'll love. My wife is the best at that. Go get mom, dude. Hey, look, I understand that hurts. You swung the bat around because you're trying to hit the ball too hard and you actually hit yourself in the head with your baseball bat. I don't doubt that hurts. Go get mom. One of the big things that we've had to work on, and my wife, this is a constant thing. It's not a battle anymore. It's just a constant. My wife is deprogramming herself as well because I've figured it the fuck out, right? And that is, when I'm speaking to our kids, you are quiet. When you are speaking to our kids, I am quiet. Because what that will explain to our kids is that both of us independently have control of any situation. Now, my wife, because I was never in control of any situation, has been raised in our marriage of having to do everything the correct way. My wife is if you're not going to fucking do it 100%, you can get out of the way because I will just create the bandwidth to do it 100%. Right. So now we're having conversations where if she steps on my toes in a situation, I am man enough. I don't erupt. Stay quiet. Let her finish. After the fact, hey, babe, let's talk about this. And we have a conversation. Whereby she apologizes. And she says, you know what? You're right. And it isn't because I forced her to feel that way. It's because I kept my cool. I didn't overreact. I didn't take it personally. I understand that the reason she does that is because I fucked up along the way so much that I put her in a fight or flight mode 24/7, 365. Now, that is slowly being deconstructed, right? That's men, you've got to live in that space. Your wife isn't going to respect you because you tell her to.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife's going to respect you because you've earned her respect.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes all the way back to the beginning. Being physically, mentally, and spiritually prepared for the outside world starts by being physically, mentally, and physically prepared in the inside world, in your four walls. Don't expect to be able to have your shit together when it goes south outside if when your wife steps on your toes in front of your kids, you lose your mind. Those are incongruent things. If you want practice on how to handle an uncomfortable situation outside of your home, practice the uncomfortable situation inside of your home. Don't run away from it. Confront it.
Amen to that.
That's a man, guys. And we're going to have these calls regularly on like real men stuff. Real, like, man, figuring this stuff out and humbling yourself before the Lord is the most manliest thing that you can do. You start there at the core nucleus. Get right with God. Humble yourself. Read the Bible and obey what it says. Then you add all the ancillary stuff. If you like hunting, be a good bow hunter. Learn how to clean a cow. Learn how to separate meat. Learn how to do jujitsu. Go get a firearm and go to a range and practice using it. Those are all ancillary things. But I'm telling you, man, those are going to all be for show if inside here is fucking rotten. And the only way that it is not going to be rotten is if you humble yourself before the one that created you. That's it. If you can do that, that's the most masculine thing you can do. It's not saying you're going to fuck somebody up. That is not masculine. That's no different than if you get on the internet and you go to the comment section and you see men that go on other people's social media pages and say stupid things. What do we normally say about those guys, Jesse? That they're probably insecure.
They are. And for them to think that I give a fuck about their opinion, dude, come on.
So if we all agree that when we see somebody on social media doing that, we laugh because we know how insecure they are. I need men that are going to listen to this to understand that when you start saying things like, oh, I don't give a fuck, I'll fuck him up. You are on the internet right now, commenting on somebody's page, telling them how wrong they are. Those are the same things. That behavior comes from the same place. Total insecurity. You're telling the world you actually have no idea what to do if somebody open hand slaps you in the fucking mouth. You have no idea. So at the core of all this, man, it's really figuring out who you are in Christ, letting him work on your spirit, reading the Bible, deciphering what it says, obeying what it says, getting in a community full of men that aren't going to just say yes to you. They're not going to just help you be less of a man. Get community and then execute, man. Go find something that you're bad at and get good at it. If you're uncomfortable with physical hand-to-hand combat, then you need to be practicing that. If you're uncomfortable with drawing a pistol because you don't know how to unload it, like, listen, before I joined the Army, Jesse, my dad isn't a gun guy. Like, I didn't know, I couldn't pick up a weapon system and like disassemble it to the point where it couldn't be effective. Like
Same.
right now, if I walk into a room and there's a pistol laying on the desk and there's 10 guys in the room, I'm going to walk up to the fucking pistol first and make sure that it's unloaded and it is not a threat. That's how I'm teaching my son. Listen, this is a controversial topic that we're going to end on, but I leave pistols out. Hey,
Same. I got one literally right here.
Like, you better look, that better not scare you. You better walk by it and know that, all right, all right, my son's 8. All right, there's no mag. There's not a round in the chamber. that is a secure firearm. It's not going to kill anybody on its own. I would have to insert a magazine. I would have to.
Yeah, mags right here.
I'd have to rack the slide. I'd have to load it up. I'd have to load munition into the chamber, and then I'd have to press the trigger for that weapon system to work. Okay. So if you're uncomfortable with those types of things, you have to get comfortable with them. Otherwise, you are leaving your family open and susceptible to the men that do know how to do those things. And not all of them are good and have good intentions.
And for anyone who's listened to this about the firearms, it's no different than when you teach your kid, hey, don't put a fork in the outlet when they're 2. It's the same concept. All we're doing is just not instilling fear, but we're just creating awareness, at least in my household. Daddy always has guns. Here's the things we do and don't do. Just like with an outlet. You don't put a fork in there or something metal. Just see what happens just because there's a hole and you got something pointy and it's metal. It's no different. I treat them as the exact same thing. Otherwise, it's like, because here's something really important that is correlated to this. Families who don't talk about taboo topics don't develop emotional intelligence.
Yes, so I would agree with that.
So this, firearms being something taboo that you shouldn't have, no. We're creating something that's not accurate. I want them to know, like, hey, I know how to use this. I mean, my son has shot this very 9mm. It's a little too much kick for how, because he's not that strong, but he shoots it. My 9-year-old shoots this thing. He loves going out the hills behind the house and shooting it.
The reason too for that, Jesse, is because if my son is 15 and he's at his friend's house and his retarded dad leaves a firearm loaded on the counter or in his desk, and the other friend picks it up and starts acting a fool with it, my son can say, put the fucking weapon down and I'll take care of it. I you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And for parents who would listen to us say this and think that we're crazy, and also simultaneously leave an iPad on the counter and think that there's nothing wrong with that, that is equally as dangerous.
I completely agree.
An open iPad is equally as dangerous as a firearm sitting on the counter. You can die with both. And my responsibility is to understand that, yeah, a firearm is dangerous. You know what else is dangerous? Disobedience. Read the book of Isaiah. The penalty for that is death. The penalty for fucking off with a firearm is death. The penalty for messing around with your iPad and watching shit you shouldn't is a lifetime of death. So they're all correlated. It's either they're all taboo or they're not taboo, any of them, right? Your job as a man is to be so grounded and locked in with who you are, and you have years of runway with your wife so that you can start making these decisions. And we're coming up against the clock, but guys, for those of you that are late to this party, you need to check your ego at the door then, and you need to fill the hole that you have dug yourself in enough so that you can start at some point. You may not have the ability to start executing on all these things right now because your wife doesn't trust who you are, right? If you're a man who's been caught watching pornography, or you've been unfaithful to your wife, don't expect her to take your word for it when you say that we're going to have firearms in our house and I'm going to teach my kids how to use them. Motherfucker, you don't know how to execute on personal responsibility yourself. Now, build that up, then start executing. It's never too late when you're the person God designed you to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you walk the way that God intended you to walk, whenever you get to that point, everybody else will understand who you are. If you try to do that before you know what your identity is, they'll sniff it out on you and they'll disrespect you even more. You can't fake this. It's no different than the gym. You can't fake a guy that's in physically fit shape. You can't fake that. You know how much that takes. Steroids or not, you have to work your ass off to look the way that some guys look. Well, for you to walk and talk like a real man in your home and in life, it takes a tremendous amount of work. So you cannot fake it. You can't rush it. You can't fake it. If you don't have the control over your home that you think you should, buddy, go to work silently, keep your fucking mouth shut, work on yourself. And then one day you're going to walk through the threshold of your house, and everyone in that house, no matter how old they are, is going to smell it on you. And when you open your mouth to give a command, the response will be different. When you start faking it before you actually earn it is when it goes south on you, and then you think, oh, this isn't working. No. It's not that it's not working. You're early. You need to stay consistent. Keep building who God called you to be. You walk through the threshold of your house one day, and it's going to be all over you, and everyone will know. That could take weeks, months, years. I have no idea.
Dude, solid way to end it. Man, we didn't even get into how to prepare spiritually. We're going to have to get into that.
I know. We'll have to do that. We touched on it a little bit, but I mean, like, you know, I think it's almost good that we broke it up, because the spiritual side of the house, we could go down that rabbit hole, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of like unpacking all of what comes with being spiritually switched on.
Yeah.
Right.
We will.
Like, we talked some overarching real guy stuff. Like, we really got into the weeds on some stuff. And I encourage dudes that, because I think, Jesse, like, we're going to do this pretty regularly. So I encourage your guys that however they access this to leave you feedback on stuff that they want us to talk about. If they liked how we broke this down today, then they need to leave you feedback so that we can talk about the shit that they want to hear about. There might be one thing that we said that, like, tons of guys go, whoa. What was that? Mm-hmm. What was that? Let's hear more about that. And I'll spend an hour on that. I don't give shit.
Same.
So, I mean, look, this is our mission, dude. I think we've been tasked and tabbed with it. I think God has called us. We had other things that we were qualified to do, and God said no, and he steered us in a different direction. And here we are. We're living Mark 10:45. We're serving other people. This isn't for me. I fucking got it figured out. Okay. I doesn't mean that I'm perfect in every area, right? But it means I've got it figured out. So this isn't for me. This is for somebody listening. So I'm here for it, bro. You let me know when and where the next one is, and we'll get it together.
We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep this going. All right, Adam. Dude, I appreciate it. And we'll be talking more soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, Jesse. I appreciate it.